TGIF. Thank God it is Friday. And I'm very thankful that it is Friday. You're watching the John McEntyre Show live. I'm John McEntyre. And before we get started, we're getting ready. We're going into the Memorial Day weekend. And I know there's a lot of people ready to celebrate. Let's remember the reason for Memorial Day, which is remembering the fallen soldiers that protected our freedom here in America. And so today, this is Friday. I have something that I want to do. Probably every Friday I will do it because I just have enough subject matter to cover it every Friday. But we'll cover some wallet wins. We'll do a few wallet wins, and then we'll go into a new segment that I want to do every Friday. And so the first wallet win is I received someone that told me that they had updated their will. They had actually watched the show. I was talking to them, and they had watched the show, and we had mentioned that I was talking with Andrea McIntyre we were talking about some different things that we needed to make sure to not overlook. And one of them was updating the will, because we did not want to see, someone to all of their stuff after they pass away to go to someone that they did not want it to go to, like an ex. And I've seen that quite a bit of times. Most of the time, you don't see it like with real estate, those types of properties, joint ownerships, because the people, the person is on the actual deed or on the property itself. So it just goes to the person who's on the property. But when it comes to other types of properties, if you don't have a will, they'll get it. And the wills can be contested, and it can get very messy unnecessarily. Man, all you have to do is just update and say, hey, I want this to go to blank. And so updating the will, big time wallet win. That one doesn't show up till later on. The person that did the wallet win, they won't be around when it happened, but they have peace of mind knowing that it will happen. And so number two, the other wallet win here. Someone found an old envelope with $200 in it. They thought they had lost years ago. So they were actually doing some decluttering, some spring cleaning, and found an envelope, and it had two $100 bills in there. And they had actually forgotten why they had put it in the envelope. They couldn't remember. They just know that they had lost the money, and they had forgotten about it, just chalked it up as lost. And they had found it. And they was like, now, why did I even have that money in, whatever? They was like, well, it's not earmarked for anything. I'm going to spend it. And so anonymously, they're not letting anyone know that they had found that money, because they were like, well, I put it in the envelope before I was married, so spouse shouldn't know about it. That was premarital money. So I was like, okay. Number three, started a new job after 4 months of unemployment. And actually the new job is working remote. So it was a big wallet win. They were excited to they had been searching, had sort of not lost hope, but just chalked it up. Maybe it's going to take a little bit longer. So they gave themselves 6 months. They were prepared to go 6 to 8 months. And it actually happened in 4 because they were very adamant about working remotely. And they was like, well, it's not that they weren't offered jobs. They just weren't remote jobs, and they wanted an actual work from home. So that's a big wallet win. Commute time, in my opinion, that's one of the biggest wallet wins, because I hate being in the middle. I hate being in traffic. Especially, I don't do well in traffic jams or whatever. I think I'm a little borderline claustrophobic, because it seems like when traffic backs up and I'm in a car, it seems like the car starts to shrink on me, and so I don't do well. So that would be a wallet win for me. Gas, don't have to pay for gas when you're not, driving back and forth to work, commuting back and forth to work. You're less apt to stop to grab something to eat, or, an extra cup of coffee or a snack, because you're going to be in the car. So you end up spending less money all the way around when you do work remotely. if you do it, do it right. Where some people that work remote, they say they actually spend more money working remotely because they don't, it's easier to say, yeah, I'll go grab some breakfast with my friend or whatever, go to the gym and have a little extra time and stop by the coffee shop. A cup of coffee turns into a muffin and all of this and everything like that. And extra time, getting work done and doing midday type shopping, grocery shopping or something like that. And it turns into an actual shopping spree other than groceries. And so if it's done right, remote work saves a lot of money, saves a lot of time. It's very good for mental health. It's excellent for mental health if you have a good support group. Have a good, you can set your own environment up. But I digress. I got to talking about remote work. We'll talk about that later. So hopefully you saw some good wallet wins. I want you to share your wallet wins with us. Now, as you can see, wallet wins, they're not too big, not too small. Every win is a win. It causes momentum and that snowball effect. So share them. Contact us through, our social media. You can share them that way. Most of the time I receive them in DMs and emails, but share them on social media. And that way we can bring them up live and read them and interact. And if you also, if you want to share it yourself, if you want to call in and actually do it live and share your wallet win, we welcome that. We'd be more than happy to do that. We would enjoy doing that, sharing and celebrating with you. And then you can go into, what you did to create the wallet win. And so just have that in mind. This is live. So everything that we're doing, you can call in and interact with us and become part of the show. And also, if you know someone that would be a good guest, if you would make a good guest or you know a good guest, a financial expert or someone in that space, mental health space, personal development, personal finance, we welcome the suggestions. And so we'd be more than happy to talk to you about that. All right. So what I was saying earlier that I wanted to share a new segment because it's near and dear to me, which is books. When I first started years ago on television, I would share books, and the studio liked it, but it was actually against the policy of the studio I was using at the time. And so I had to stop doing it. And then it just became one of those things where I just forgot to bring it up again. And I was like, Andrea, she was talking to me. She said, why don't you recommend books like you used to? And I was like, I don't know why, because I have 1,000 behind me here on the set as it is. I mean, I have a tight shot, but there's books everywhere because I like books. I was taught early in life, very young, before even going to school. I already had a little library. My mom, she believed in all of the kids, reading early. She was really a teacher at heart. She was just never in the classroom. So her kids and her house was a classroom. And so I had books. I was taking books with me to school. And I remember those book clubs. I don't know if anybody remember those where you could order the books at school, bring the little sheet of paper, the little brochure at home with all of the different children books for your age and grade level, and would order them. I would bring that home, and I pretty much already had those books, so it really wasn't anything new to me. I really didn't start buying books in school till third, fourth grade, because my mom, she was already buying them. So I pretty much read all of those books before I got there. So reading was something that was very, very deep as a value of mine. And as I got older, I started to learn, one of my mentors used the old saying, readers are leaders, and to lead well, you should read well, and you are the equivalent of the books that you read. So if a person's doing certain things, it's probably an indication of what they're reading. And books are, me personally, books are mentors. They're experts. They share knowledge. You can get someone's knowledge from their books, and when I read books, pretty much the same books. There's a few books that I read every year because every time I read them, I get something new from them. My number one book is the Bible, but I didn't buy that book. I'm sharing the books that I'm sharing here are the books that I actually purchased. My Bible was actually given to me. It's my number one book, personal development, personal finance, everything the Bible is. But the book that I have here, my very first book, is The Richest Man in Babylon by George S. Clason. I don't know how it is. But this is the first book I purchased myself. When I wanted to learn about money, at that time, I went to the bookstore, and the closest bookstore to me at the time was like 20 miles away. It was in another town, a neighboring town. And so it was a mall. And so I had to go to that bookstore. And this was, at that time, this was the only book, personal finance, my only money book in the entire store. The personal development section was maybe a total, and I'm being serious, maybe 10 or 15 books. And I'll be sharing those other books that I bought there. But you know, there was a bookstore in my town, but it was more, the intellectual style books. The people, they had a book club, and they got there, and so it was like novels and things like that, which was cool. But then I went in and I started to request certain books, and then they started to order them and hold them, in inventory, and set up a section on the bookshelf in the store for personal development books. But before that, I had to drive 20 miles to get a book. So this book is very valuable. It's been with me since I bought this book in September 14th, 1997. That's when I bought this book, and I have it written right there. I have it written. Bought the book. When I buy a book, that's the first thing I do. I write the date inside of the cover of when I bought it. And so I bought this book September the 14th, 1997, and it's been a very good book. It's the foundation of personal finance. A lot of books, especially now, they have the person's personal stories involved, and which is great. Sharing your personal story is very good. This book is a parable. It's written in parable style, and I think that's the reason why I liked it first, is because it is parable, and the actual is told through the story through a person, Arcad, who was actually in ancient Babylon, like 4,000, 5,000 years ago. He was a poor scribe who became the richest man in Babylon. And so others started to ask him how he built his wealth. How did he become the richest man in Babylon? And so he shared practical advice. And even though the story is set in ancient Babylon, the principles hold true today, because they are principles. And I'll share some of the principles that this particular book shared. And I'm quite sure you'll see whatever's being said today is basically a rewording of what came out of this book. And this book was written in 1926. And so it's almost 100 years old. And the principles still hold true today. In the first section, the way that the book was written, it had the 7 cures to get a purse to fattening. And that's basically just getting yourself financially healthy and getting on the road to, financial, security. And the first one, start thy purse to fattening, which is another way of saying today we would just say save money. Put 10% of your income every month aside into a savings account, and start saving early. And another way of saying it is, some experts today say, pay yourself first. Start your savings account and pay yourself first. So 10%. We follow biblical principles, so we tie 10%, then we pay ourselves 10%. But that's the way we roll here. But that's one of the first principles. Think about it. That's what experts say today. Control thy expenditures, which is don't spend more than you earn, which is another way of saying live within your means. And we all know today's time that America and the world, we're notorious for living above our means and overusing credit to do more than what we're capable of doing within our income. Uh, Number three, make thy gold multiply, which is basically saying invest your money wisely, invest it, put it to work. Every dollar has a job to do. Uh, Number four, guard thy treasures from loss. So protect your money from risk. That's in the way of insurances. If you have a business, corporate structures, LLCs, things like that, that protect it. But mainly in insurance, making sure that your money is protected like that. And also understanding the investments that you are investing in, because if you don't understand them, that makes them risky. So you need to understand what you're investing in. Um, Make of thy dwelling a profitable investment. Basically saying, own a home, buy a home. Stats show most millionaires, they own their home. Now, there are a few millionaires in certain parts of the United States, certain parts of the world where real estate is expensive. And so they may choose to not own their own home, but it's not to say that they don't own real estate. So they do have money, but the average everyday millionaire, wealthy person, even if they're not a millionaire, a wealthy person, a financially secure and wealthy person, they own their home because number one, it's a financial investment. It's usually the largest purchase that you will make. But other than that, it's an asset in the emotional area. Is like it offers peace of mind to know that you own your dwelling, to own where you live. And in America, that is one of it's always real estate, home ownership, real estate investment is always the number one investment vehicle for people. Always. I mean, it's standard to, forever. It's been like that in America, real estate. We have the stock market, we have gold, we have all of these other investment vehicles, but America still value real estate, and that's spreading around the world. You have some places in around the world that are booming like crazy. America is doing well in real estate. There are certain parts of the world that has exploded because now people are seeing the value of they're able to own their home now, and so they're buying their home. So that's a big one. That's one of the big ones that I've taken from this book. Um, Insure thy life, which another way of saying having insurance is savings and everything like that. The foundation. You have your foundation taken care of. We did a series of shows a couple of weeks ago about having a sound financial foundation, and that's what it's basically talking about. So much cash, emergency funds, the insurances. Even some people put home ownership in the foundation, and that's what that one is talking about. And increase thy earning power, which is basically say constantly learn new skills. So when I bought this book, as I've told my story before, I was working at a factory, and this is when I read that, I was like, okay, what new skills? This one and another book that I will share, which is called Free Agent Nation. I was like, okay, I'm going to hit a ceiling quickly in the factory. Number one, it's not the job for me. It's not the career for me. And number two, it has a ceiling. It automatically comes with a ceiling. You already know what you're going to make working in, the factory, and it's hourly jobs, unless, you go into the front office, go into management or something, become salary. But even then, you're still capped. Probably the one with the least cap is the person that actually over the factory. The plant manager, they call him the plant manager. And so that one really hit me the quickest, is because I started figuring out ways and thinking of ways that I could earn extra money. And then mentors saying, well, you want to earn money, you can go and get another job, but learn skills that you could use without a job. Like if you wanted to work for yourself, skills like selling, number one business skill. But then If you have another skill or talent that you have, put it to work. Like if you know how to build things, if you know how to repair things, if mowing lawns or whatever you're good at, turn it into another income, another stream of income. But also it is a skill, and so that one was very valuable. Then the book, it went into the 5 laws of gold, of actually money itself. The first 7 were the cures. This is what you would do to get your purse, your bank account, to your financial life to start growing. Then it explains the laws of gold, and it was saying avoid debt, because debt is a financial trap. You can lose money and throw away a lot of money with a lot of unnecessary debt because of interest rates. And most consumer debt, credit cards and everything, have some of the highest interest rates, that you will ever pay. They're way more than the stock market, than any market, pretty much where any investment, usually credit cards exceed it, unless you get into those high level investments, which is not for the scope of this show. It says invest for the long term. Don't try to get rich quick, because that's a quick way to lose a lot of money chasing after get rich quick schemes. And we know that especially today, you crank up the computer and you're bombarded with get rich quick schemes. Everyone has the newest way to make a buck fast, and it makes you don't analyze. You get emotional and you give up money and not understanding what you're investing in. And that's why I say the person that's selling the get rich quick scheme, they made their money selling the scheme, not actually performing what the scheme says you should do to get rich quick. So it's not exactly selling. They didn't make their money selling ads in a paper. And I'm thinking it was one of those old get rich quick infomercials. You can put one tiny ad in the paper and you can become a millionaire and all this. Well, he didn't make his money putting ads in the paper. He made his money selling that scheme to people. And people may know who I'm talking about. He ended up committing suicide because of his schemes, and they were some very very slick financial people, especially in the 80s and 90s. There was a lot of schemes. A lot of people lost a lot of money in that time period. And because I'm thinking about that is because I was looking at a lot of opportunities. People around were looking at opportunities, and they were everywhere, like it is now. But everyone had some type of a scheme. You turn on the infomercials, and it's talking about all of these different schemes. People are losing their money left and right, and some of those big names are in prison for a long time from the 80s and 90s, and even now. One of them being Bernie Madoff, big name. Think of him. So yeah. Next one, diversify your investments. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. We all know that. Especially when it comes to the market and every other thing, you want to have, you don't want to spread it too thin, but you do want multiple streams of income created, and reinvest your earnings. Put the eggs in the basket. When the eggs multiply, don't eat the eggs. And that's me. That's mine. I'm proud of myself that I came. It took me a long time to finally come up with one, but I did. So yeah, let the money work and just let it work. That's where retirement accounts come into play. Put the money and just let it work, and you'll live off the returns later on in life. And the last one, I said it earlier, pay yourself first. Put aside money for your future before you spend anything else. Most people say, I don't have the money to do that. Well, if you just put it and make it a habit, it'll just become a habit, and you'll just do it, and you won't miss the money. And it'll cause you to, once you see the benefits of it, you'll sort of naturally live within your means once you get that into place. And it's kind of a hard one to bite, but once you do it, you'll see the benefits of it. So yeah, this is the book, The Richest Man in Babylon. First book I ever purchased on money. It looks good because I've been very protective of it. And I've never I've given them out a lot. I've given out a lot of them, and I'm going to start back doing that, giving this book, because people would always ask me, what's a good book to read? Basics of Money, Richest Man in Babylon. You can go online and get a free download. I think I'm going to work on putting a link on the website where you can actually download it from there, and we'll be able to share that information. So there's a book. My first book that I ever purchased, George Clayson's The Richest Man in Babylon. If you have a book that you want to share or let me know about, I'll be more than happy to discuss it. You can come on the show and we can talk about the book. I welcome that also. As you can tell, I want the show to be very interactive. And so the question of the day before I go is, what's the first book, or what is your favorite book? What is the first or your favorite personal finance book you've ever read? So, this is John McEntyre, about to sign off here. I hope you have a safe and happy Memorial Day weekend. And don't forget to have in memory, and I pray your prayers and memories of the soldiers that gave their life for our freedom. So until Monday, this is John McEntyre signing off.